It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Rose, answer. Yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in. It's another edition of the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. Love to hear from you as well. However you're listening in real time on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, on 1069thefan.com or the 1069 The Fan mobile app. Or if you listen on the podcast, we welcome you. If you miss anything, you can find other past episodes on our website or on our mobile app. And enjoy to your heart's content.
Yeah, however you follow us, we have social media, most of the platforms. I've started posting our greatest takes online, so if you follow us, you'll be able to hear us yet again, various rants that we do.
Yeah, just snapshots that represent kind of what we're talking about. But today, we're continuing to look at the NBA draft. Utah earned the number 5. I don't know if earned is the right term.
I don't know if earned is the right word there, Eric. I think they were punished with the 5th overall pick.
That's probably the better term. They were punished with the number 5 overall pick. And so over the last few days, I've just been doing some of the research. Who are the players selected number 5 overall in the NBA over the last 10, 11 years? So guys who are in the league today. Now, are there some guys who, if I were to keep going further down in like 15 years, yeah, I probably could.
Yeah, you just got to find a cutoff point because eventually you're like, I don't know where to do this cutoff.
Yeah. But after, there were already some guys that were not in the league anymore from where I went. And so I just kind of cut it off from the 2013 season all the way to last year. Who were the players that were selected at various draft positions? I went 1 through 4 and then also 21. 1 through 5 and then also 21 because Utah has the number 5 and the number 21 picks as of right now going into the 2025 NBA draft, which will take place in June. So what type of player is normally available in that range, in that area? Which players turned out to be good? Which players turned out to be great? Which were busts? And there's several that aren't even in the league anymore. So just in kind of looking at the disparity between number 1 particularly and number 5. So that's kind of one of the focuses here on the show today. Always love to get you to chime in and be a part of it as well. 435-339-0321. We will look at what's going on in the NBA playoffs as they continue. Sam Merrill's birthday is today. Happy birthday, Sam Merrill.
Yeah, 2444 texting in, noting a happy birthday to Sam Merrill.
Sam Money Merrill. And, he's going to be a free agent this summer. So he is going to earn a nice paycheck.
I hope so, because you always were like some guys, you're in a role player spot, and then it's like, can they find another landing spot? But I think somebody's going to pick him up. I don't know if the Cavs will hang on to him, because when you're in that bench player role, you might be good, you might be an asset to the team, the coach might like you, but maybe they decide they just want to go somewhere else, or they end up drafting a player and they don't plan on having a roster spot for you. Though I don't think the Cavs have their first-round pick this year. They traded a lot of those to the Jazz. So, I don't know. It'll be a mystery, but I expect Sam Merrill to end up somewhere because of what he's been able to do the last 2 years.
Yeah, he's an unrestricted free agent. And so I would imagine that he'd get something. Somebody's going to pick him up. I wouldn't be too worried about Sam. It's just a matter of, does he stay in Cleveland? Does he go somewhere else? And how much more does he earn? because I think he clearly illustrated that he could be an impactful player for the Cavaliers as the season went on, and certainly at times as well in the playoffs. So that'll be a fun thing to watch here in the offseason for Sam Merrill. But 435-339-0321, actually a little bit longer text here from 2444. I missed the days of watching him play, talking about Sam Merrill, watching him play for the Aggies, but I'm incredibly happy for him with the success he's had professionally to this point. I may have been one of the few, but I really did think that he had a chance to make it in the NBA while he was at USU because of his well-rounded skill set. Also, I may be mistaken, but I believe that he is a free agent this offseason. What do you guys think are the odds that he re-signs with Cleveland, or are there any other teams that you think would be interested in him? I'd love to see him get another multi-year contract and continue to have success.
Yeah, it's very likely that his next contract looks very similar, at least in structure. I don't know about money. Money just tends to kind of increase just because of the cap, if nothing else. But a multi-year deal with the first year guaranteed and years after that non-guaranteed. I think that's what you're likely to see with Sam Merrill, assuming he gets a multi-year and not just like a one-year contract. But effectively, those first-year guarantee, multiple unguaranteed, they basically are one-year contracts or year-by-year contracts. But it's slightly more commitment. Like I said, it's iffy whether or not the Cavaliers would sign him. Again, not for any reasons of do they think he's a bad player. No, the fans like him. The coach likes him. He's a good player. But good players can end up leaving a team for not really on the fault of anybody, the player or the team. It's just it's better for one side that they go, so that they part. I don't know if that's going to be Sam Merrill. Like, could he be enticed away by somebody who wants to pay him more money and he decides to leave? Or is it the Cavaliers who, again, it could just be them looking at their roster and be like, we got to make a cut somewhere, and it's going to be Sam. Like, that's something that could happen. I'm not in the Cavaliers room. I'm not really in the Cavaliers media, so I can't really say for sure how likely he is to stay. But he's gonna end up somewhere. And yeah, I think with 2444, there's a bit of a surprise for me that he was able to stick. Mostly because I was worried about his athleticism. Like, could he defend? That was the biggest thing. Because, like, can he shoot? Can he pass? Can he rebound? Yeah, sure, he can do those things as a wing. He had those NBA skills. But so many mid-major players who have all the skills get tossed by the wayside because they say, well, you're not athletic enough, so go away. Look at J.C. Carroll. He's the guy who had all the shooting skill in the world, but couldn't hack it in the NBA because they wouldn't really even give him a chance. Sam Merrill luckily was 6'6", or 6'5".
6'5".
If he was also 6'2", he probably wouldn't have made it. But he had size to play shooting guard, small forward in the NBA. So, but it's great that he's been able to, actually have an NBA career and not just be a journeyman. A bench journeyman where he's just hopping around different G League organizations like he kind of was early in his career.
Yeah.
But now he's stabilized to where maybe he'll be a journeyman in the sense of going from team to team. Like he may not be with the Cavaliers next year, but he's going to have an NBA career for, I'd say, at least the next 2 to 3 years.
8968 wondering, is there a chance that Sam winds up with the Jazz? Is there a chance? Yes. Is it likely? No.
There's always a chance, but I'll just say no.
Yeah.
The chance, I suppose, would be if the Jazz are still tanking and like they'll sign veteran players who maybe they don't, they're not planning on keeping long term. So they're just like, let's just pick up this guy and play.
He'd certainly have a greater opportunity to play more minutes.
And the Jazz would be a place where he could play a lot. And there's some guys who've kind of revived their career. Chris Dunn did it a little bit. There's some guys who launched their career by like nobody else would have played him. Simone Fontecchio basically owes his career to the Jazz.
Yes.
Where he wouldn't have gotten a shot with anybody else, and then he gets traded to the Pistons where he's become a decent rotation player. So I guess it could happen. I just don't necessarily see it happening. One, because I don't think they're going to make barely any free agent signings this offseason. I don't know if they have room to make any free agent signings with the draft picks they got to use. and the fact that they retain most of their roster because most of those contracts carry over into this season. There's some player options and team options and whatnot, but I would expect most of those options to be exercised, especially on the player option front, like with John Collins and I think a couple of others. So I think that's probably the biggest reason he's probably not getting with the Jazz is that they probably don't sign any free agents this season.
Yeah. And I think his odds of staying in Cleveland are pretty good because I think they could probably keep him on the roster for relatively cheap, and they need to be looking for that because their roster value goes from their salary goes from about 170, just under 170 million to just under 218 million.
Who's getting the raise?
Biggest part of that is Evan Mobley.
Is his extension kicking in?
Yes. Because he goes from about 11 million to 46 million.
Yeah, that's
so he's a big part of that.
That's that rookie scale contract to we're paying you the big bucks now.
But Darius Garland goes up, Donovan Mitchell goes up, DeAndre Hunter a little bit. But most of their roster is under contract next year. At least the main meat and potatoes of Cleveland's roster. But I'd imagine they'd probably want to try to keep Sam because they value him and he's really not that expensive.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that helps is that he has a skill that the Cavaliers have struggled a little bit at times. That's 3-point shooting. A lot of their key players aren't the greatest of 3-point shooters. A lot of them can shoot threes, but not a lot of them are like really good at it. And so he brings that shooting element. Not just he's a guy that can shoot threes, but he's the guy that will terrorize the opposing defense, not because he always has the ball and is dribbling around, a la James Harden, but that guy that you have to chase around the court. And having that on the court, it's usually only for 15 minutes, but that's 15 minutes of pretty dang good value that he's providing based on a skill that they need.
Yeah, so happy birthday to Sam Merrill. He's got an interesting offseason where instead of just hoping if he can make a roster, he may actually be in a little bit more of a driver's seat to dictate a few things. Not a lot of things, but I don't think he has to worry too much if he will be on an NBA roster next season.
Yeah,
whereas the last several years, that has been a concern, legitimate concern.
Yeah, it was a year-by-year thing. It's like, will I be in the NBA in a month?
Right.
And now it's like, he might have several phone calls of guys who... people aren't lining up at Sam Merrill's door, but there'll probably be a few teams that are
for his price, there'll be a lot of teams interested in him.
It's like, hey, we could use a 3-point sharpshooter that we can play 15 minutes a game and have be a valuable part of the rotation, even part of the playoff rotation.
It's going to cost us less than $4 million a year.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap for them. So 9-5 texting and saying the other team needs to learn when you play Nimi, you win, just like when you play Sam, you win.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised we didn't see much of Nimi the other day, though. Boston, their other center, was going crazy, so I guess it shouldn't have surprised me too much. But there are
Horford
some...
or Porzingis?
Not Horford or Porzingis.
Oh, who's the other one?
Yeah, it starts with a K. I can't remember his name. But
why do I not know who that is?
I did see some folks on Twitter saying that if Porzingis isn't going to do anything, Keta may be able to provide a little bit more than what he's doing. Luke Cornett was the other center who was playing out of his mind. But yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. There could be more games with the Boston Celtics. They're on a little bit of the ropes, but they had a pretty good game last night. And can they extend the series and give themselves more of a chance?
Yeah, it does feel like a bit of that last gasp. I feel like you said something about this yesterday, or I was talking to somebody where it's like, sure, they're probably going to win another game, or it was very likely they'd win another game, but like, can they win 2 more now? Like without Jason Tatum?
Yeah, I think they've got a very good team. And I think they've got a lot of depth. I don't know if they can win the series without Jason Tatum. I don't think they could get to the NBA Finals without Jason Tatum.
Yeah, I think that would be really hard for them. I know Jaylen Brown ended up winning the NBA Finals last year, so I guess theoretically he's supposed to be the better player. And Boston does have a lot of really good players. Like you got championship DNA players like Drew Holiday, Al Horford,
Derek White.
technically all of them got that, you can call it championship DNA, but they've got a lot of those players, not just great starters.
Well, and
but
NBA
good players coming off
Olympics,
the bench.
or Team USA represented the Team USA in the Olympics.
Yeah,
So guys who know how to compete and win at a very high level.
Yeah, so they've got all these guys, but I think you can have a lot of that, but you still do need that star power. And I know some people have been doubting whether or not Jason Tatum is a star. And I'll question, the biggest thing I'll question about him is how he spells his name, but that's a different problem with me. But he's a star player, and he's the guy that can drive this team to be their best. And Boston's at their best when they have, and when they don't, then they're in serious jeopardy, especially when they were already down 3-1. Sure, they can pull off a win, but in the end, the series does feel like it's over. And I suddenly feel like that clip's going to get played a week from now if Boston ends up winning the series.
Well, the pressure's on New York to win at home, which they've shown they can. They have that ability. This has been a really weird series, though, because Boston has been in such control of the series so many different times and have let it slip away. And a few times they haven't. They're able to get it done. But it's been a really weird series.
Yeah, it is really weird in that, as you mentioned, Boston has played so well to have been in such a hole. Like for how good they played for like 75% of those first 4 games. Like for 75% of those first 4 games, they were just far and away the best team, not even close. And they were down 3-1. Like, how? But that's just sports. It's not even just basketball. It's sports.
Right.
Where you can be the better team, and then suddenly you aren't because you played so catastrophically bad for part of the game that you just lost.
So game 6 in that series will be tomorrow at 6 on ESPN. But in the other series that's still going, it's the Thunder at the Nuggets.
The Thunder Nuggets.
The Thunder Nuggets. That's right. It continues 6:30 on ESPN. Oklahoma City favored by 5.5 on the road in Denver.
Yeah, and this will be a game that I'm going to keep an eye on. I'm going to watch this game just because. You mentioned this yesterday. Just this is the best series of the conference semifinals. The other ones you got 4-1, 4-1. Boston's clinging to 3-2. This one feels like it's going to be a super competitive game 6. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Sometimes you get a disappointing blowout in these tense games where there's a lot of buildup to them. Where, it's win or go home for the Nuggets. And the Thunder, they get a bit of grace. But, if they end up losing. But, this is going to be the series definitely to watch because 2 of the series are over and one of them's, we're just kind of assuming it's over.
Yeah.
This Thunder Nuggets, that's the series to keep an eye on because I think it could be really exciting, especially if the Nuggets take Game 6 because then we get a fantastic Game 7 setup between MVP candidates, best team in the West, and a recent champion with the Nuggets.
A couple more texts before we hit a timeout. 5860 texting in. Wore my signed Mavs Dirk Nowitzki to pickup ball this week. Needless to say, all my Jazz bros absolutely loved it. R.I.P. Jazz season.
Was that sarcastic? I have an uncle who's a Jazz fan who absolutely hates Dirk Nowitzki.
2305 texting in. I think a team like the Golden State Warriors could use a guy like Sam.
Yeah, they don't have enough shooting, do they? That was a joke.
Yeah. I don't.
Klay Thompson replacement?
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Because structurally, how Steve Kerr has had the most success, a guy like Sam would fit in really well there.
Yeah, like
some of the other guys have kind of struggled to fill the role that Klay Thompson used to play.
Yeah, he can just be an off-ball movement shooter. Obviously, he isn't going to get the same volume that someone like Klay could, but Klay basically built what will end up being a Hall of Fame career, despite the fact that he barely ever dribbled the ball. But when you're an elite shooter on a team like the Warriors, and for how good of a defender, he's a pretty underrated defender.
Yeah,
he made a pretty dang good career in Golden State.
All right, quick timeout here on the Full Court Press. When we come back, let's look back at NBA drafts past. Look at the past of the NBA draft and who are the players who were selected number 5 overall the last 10 or 11 years or so. And so what's the type of player that Utah could be getting at the number 5 overall pick if they keep with that? We'll reveal that next here on the Full Court Press.
When grid failures and severe weather cause power outages, your business might take a hit, or at home, you could lose your refrigerated food storage. Generac Standby Power Solutions help ensure an uninterrupted power supply. Generac is the #1 brand of standby generators. Get yours today from Golden Spike Electric, your trusted source for safety and security. Golden Spike Electric, powering your peace of mind. Online at gscgenerators.com or call 257-3016. They also service other models.
Ladies, do you have your men's ring yet? We know that he got you the perfect ring, so let's get him one that will show how much you care, such as a one-of-a-kind Damascus steel, his choice of camo, or an exquisite redwood inlay. And if you really want something out of this world, come check out our meteorite rings. For the largest selection of unique men's rings, make it special, make it Jarek's at 930 North Main in Logan.
Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Make it special, make it Jarek's.
Now here's a concept. You earmark 1/3 of your profits to go back into the community, to local charities. Dex Imaging does that. My name is Anthony Wagoner, and I'd like to share with you what I know about Dex, the company that acquired Valley Office Systems. Dex Imaging is committed to continuing quality customer service while raising the bar to become a strong community partner. Join us in creating the brightest image for tomorrow. Contact us at deximaging.com.
At Adams Wealth Advisors, they believe that successful wealth management is all about planning. And whether you've done a lot of planning or a little, Adams Wealth Advisors is here to help. If you're transitioning a business, searching for the most up-to-date tax strategies, need help managing investments, or need help with estate planning, Adams Wealth Advisors has your back. Visit adamswealthadvisors.com. That's adamswealthadvisors.com for more information or to schedule an appointment.
Ah, the t-shirt. It's the unofficial clothing of summer. We all have a favorite t-shirt. The Logo Shop has custom screen printed over 1 million t-shirts for teams, clubs, businesses, family reunions, fundraisers, marathons, bike races. One-of-a-kind designs with creative graphics, even funny phrases. Whether you need a couple dozen or a couple thousand, the team at the Logo Shop will help with your one-of-a-kind design. From concept to creation. Order your custom t-shirts from the Logo Shop.
The Logo Shop. The Logo Stop. The Logo Shop.
Honey, the garage door won't close again.
It's the sun hitting the sensors. I just fixed this.
Toilet paper rolls are not a fix. Is there something we can do?
Actually, yeah. Advanced Garage Door has these new sunshades that block direct light from the garage door sensors. Let me give Mason a call.
Is your garage door not closing? We can fix that. Call Advanced Garage Door at 435-255-6725. That's 435-255-6725. Or visit us at advancedgaragedoors.com.
Talking the sports you care about. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Young Power Sports of Logan is a brand new service center. They can handle any make, any model, 100% of the time. They've got the tools, they've got the experience to keep your ride in peak condition. Just Google Young Power Sports Logan for Cache Valley's premier power sports service department. They sponsor our text line, 435-339-0321. If you want to chime in, 9315. Texting in with a GIF. Impatient kid. What was that, from the Little Rascals?
I'm not
pull
sure.
It up. It's just me waiting for more pack news. Is there any?
I have no clue. I know I've seen it before. I have no clue where that's from.
No, there is nothing new to report on that front, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's getting weirder and weirder by the day. Every time you think about it, it's like, yeah, we were supposed to have it, by April?
Well, they were
by the Final Four?
They said that they would begin in-person mediation on May 19th.
I was talking about the media deal.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, the mediation, that's
kind of holding up everything.
That's just a different thing.
Let's look at, did a bit of a deep dive here on looking at picks in the NBA, top 5 picks. How impactful did they turn out to be? And so I didn't look at their full body of work because it's kind of weird scaled. Because if I look at a guy from 2014 and try to compare him to a guy in 2024, well, there's a lot of years difference and experience. And
haven't had a time to do anything yet.
Yeah, but I did look at their stats for this season. So, then we can look at that and take that for what you want. But it's pretty clear the top number 1 overall pick, there's out of that group, and I went from 2013 to 2024, and for all 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then also number 21. Of that group of players, there were 16 All-Star selections, and 5 of those guys earned Rookie of the Year. So that was the most by any group. And when you look at just their value and impact, as far as like Rookie of the Year, I should say, clarify. But that number 1 overall pick normally produces an all-star, and odds are pretty high that he will also be a Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, there's 4 players on among all these number 1 draft picks that haven't been named an all-star. One of those is the guy who was drafted number 1 overall this last year. How do you say his name? Zachary Richard? Rissachet? Some French name that I can't pronounce. So he's got some time. Wembanyama actually hasn't even been named an all-star yet. So actually that's another one. So I think it's 5. But like most of them named all-stars. And yeah, to me, like I look at these and I'm really only looking at one player who was just an absolute terrible pick. That was Anthony Bennett. And then you have...
I know, when I saw that, I'm like, who?
Don't remember? He came out of UNLV.
I know. I saw he came out of UNLV. He was a number 1 pick.
Yeah, he was one of the biggest. He's probably one of the for being picked number 1 overall and how quickly, like he got out of the, because sometimes number 1 overall picks, they just, if they're not good, like look at a guy like Markelle Fultz. He's still kicking around, doing somewhere, but Anthony Bennett was just straight out of the NBA, like express train out of the NBA.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's like the one bust that you have. But like the ones that you're like, were they really great for number 1 overall pick? Andrew Wiggins, he's still a pretty solid player. Ben Simmons, he took the elongated Anthony Bennett path where he was really good, and then now he's kind of not worth the contract that is he still on a massive contract? I can't remember, but Markelle Fultz, yeah, there was the weird thing with him where his shoulders forgot how to shoot. So like those are some iffy guys, but it's like Zion Williamson, DeAndre Ayton. It's like Zion has some health problems. Like if he was healthy all the time, he'd be an obvious one. And then DeAndre Ayton, it's like, he's okay. Probably shouldn't have been the number 1 overall pick. But, like, he's a good NBA player. This last season,
averaged about 14.5 points, a little over 10 rebounds a game.
Yeah, for the tanking Trailblazers.
Yeah, got a lot of play for Portland. But, yeah, I mean, in the first overall pick, you're usually going to get, odds are you're going to get a really good player.
Yeah, you're looking at, like, 80% chance that you're drafting a guy who's capable of being an all-star or near all-star at some point in his career.
This is a who's who of recognizable names. Victor Wembanyama, Paolo Banchero, Cade Cunningham, Anthony Edwards. I mean, those last couple of guys, they're in the playoffs, or they take their teams to the playoffs. Zion Williamson, for all his injury things, when he is healthy, he's dynamic. So Karl Anthony Towns, what he's doing in New York. So there's a lot of really good players at number 1, as you would suspect. So again, 16 All-Star selections, 5 Rookies of the Year in that group. Number 2 draft pick, interesting drop-off. Good players, not as many All-Star selections, only 6, and only 1 Rookie of the Year out of this group. And that was John Morant for the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, you kind of have a group of, it's kind of like the number 1 overall pick where it's like there's a baseline going to be pretty solid. And for number 2, it just kind of falls down a little bit. There's not too many guys that are just bad. Alex Sarr, this last year, just kind of don't worry about him too much. Brandon Miller, 21 points a game last year. He had a big jump his second year. Chet Holmgren, key guy on the number 1 team in the NBA. Jalen Green, top guy on the number 2 seed in the West. James Wiseman, kind of iffy, but you still got guys like John Morant. then you have guys where it's like, depends on who you ask whether or not they were worth the number 2 overall pick. Guys like Brandon Ingram, D'Angelo Russell, and Victor Oladipo. So it's like, what, didn't all those guys were all-stars, but it's also like, were they that good? So like I said, it kind of depends who you ask. But you're getting pretty decent players for the most part. You do get your Marvin Bagley and your Jabari Parker, but like you can still find pretty decent talent there.
Yeah, and if they're number 2, there's a chance that some of you were debating should they have been number 1, but it's a different, little bit of a drop off there. But then it really jumps back up at number 3. Surprisingly, there's a lot of talent that comes with the number 3 pick.
Yeah, and it is kind of interesting because, again, throwing Reed Shepherd out because, of course, he didn't actually have a great season. He may be on his way to being a bit of a bust. And Scoot Henderson, he was kind of bad this season at times, and I think the jury is out on Jabari Smith, who was drafted 3 years ago. But then you're rocking Evan Mobley, LaMelo Ball, RJ Barrett, who's pretty solid, 21 points a game, Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Joel Embiid. You do have to step over Jahlil Okafor and Otto Porter, but it's like there is a running line of pretty dang good players, MVP caliber players, finals MVP caliber players, like scattered all over the number 3 overall pick and potentially a future defensive player of the year in Evan Mobley.
Yeah. Well, he did receive the defensive player of the year. Yeah.
Did he this year? Or last year?
This year.
Oh, this year. Did they already give that out?
Yeah.
Oh. Congrats.
Yeah. I didn't. I put on the rookie of the year, but I didn't put any other.
You didn't put it on there.
I didn't put MVPs or anything else like that on there.
Yeah.
I should have. But 24 All-Star selections. Now, Luka Doncic's been to a bunch. Jason Tatum's been to a bunch. Jaylen Brown and Joel Embiid. Those guys have been to a lot of All-Star games. But
basically anybody who's been in the league more than 3 years has been like a pretty high caliber player.
Yeah.
With like the one exception being Jahlil Okafor, and you get to the bottom, you have Otto Porter.
Which I just realized I forgot to. I missed.
He didn't put other stuff. He
all the data on him, but
Jazz legend Otto Porter. But of all the guys who are, again, 2021 or earlier, their draft, the 2 guys that haven't made an All-Star game are RJ Barrett, who again averaged 21, 6, and 5 this last year.
Great numbers.
And then Jahlil Okafor, who was, that was a whole thing that happened.
Yeah, he's totally out of the NBA. 24 NBA All-Star selections, 2 rookies of the year. That was LaMelo Ball and Luka Doncic in that group. Number 4, players were selected at number 4. 4 All-Star selections, 2 rookies of the year. Out of that, a little bit more of a smattering of players. Again, a pretty good list of good players, but there's also a number of them that aren't even in the NBA anymore.
Yeah, I think the problem is it becomes A, pretty hit and miss, and B, a lot of meh players for being drafted number 4. Guys like Josh Jackson, Dragon Bender. Aaron Gordon is kind of interesting where, he was a lot more hyped early in his career, but then he turned out to be better as a role player. Is that worth it at 4? Probably not, but at least he's a viable NBA player. But Cody Zeller. I think the jury may still be out on guys like Keegan Murray, who's drafted a few years ago, but like Patrick Williams, not super impressive. And then even like your better players, DeAndre Hunter, Jaren Jackson, good players, but like, are they high level? Like you draft a guy at 4, you're expecting to be a fairly high level player. And
I think Jaren Jackson Jr., twice All-Star, defensive player of the year.
So I guess I'm not giving him as much credit. And I think the other guy I would look at is Scotty Barnes. That you basically have, I think, 2 players on this list that I feel like were really worth their pick. And also maybe lean toward Kristaps Porzingis, but he's also had kind of a weird career arc.
Yeah. Yeah, it has been funny. And then it was still a little too early to tell for Stephen Castle and Amen Thompson, though.
Both promising.
Looking pretty good so far.
They've started out pretty good, so I think both of them are going to look pretty good in the future.
But then that takes us to number 5. This is the pick that Utah Jazz have been gifted from the NBA, punished for tanking.
Punished for their insolence.
The NBA is making it clear it will not reward tanking. at least not in one season, but they may do it. You have to do it for over multiple seasons now, apparently. But you're looking at the number 5 draft picks, 6 All-Star selections, no Rookies of the Year out of this group. And there are a few that are some decent players here. Darius Garland is probably one of the most substantial, 2-time All-Star. Trae Young actually was selected the year before, 2-time All-Star. And so those 2 guys really kind of stand out. But beyond that, not a heck of a whole lot there that when you select the number 5 player, some of these guys aren't in the NBA or are such minor role players that you just don't even think of them anymore.
It's kind of interesting because there's so many of these guys that are just guards, like point guards. Jalen Suggs, Darius Garland, Trae Young, De'Aaron Fox, Chris Dunn, Dante Exum. So many point guards or, again, point guard, shooting guard types. Just kind of interesting. I don't know if there's anything too substantial, but I don't know if it's something about drafting point guards at that spot where maybe... Because, again, the ones that have hit, again, Garland, Young, and Fox, those guys hit. Those guys, I mean, once you get to number 5, you stop thinking like he's definitely going to be an all-star to just we hope he's an all-star. And so you hit on a few of these. But, yeah, there's a lot of them that are iffy. Mario Hezonja, I forgot his name completely, to be honest. Dante Exum, who he went out of the NBA, and now he's back in. And he started having half-decent games, and then suddenly everyone was like, the Jazz were wrong about Dante Exum. He's averaging 5 points a game for the Mavericks. It's like, you sure? Are you sure he's actually good? And then he gets injured again because, of course, Dante Exum.
Yes, Dante.
Injured. And then, of course, glorious Alex Len. My goodness. Didn't he have a very brief stint on the Jazz? Or I thought he might have been involved in the trade where they waived him or something.
I didn't see any stats.
Maybe I'm just imagining that, but I feel like the Jazz somehow made contact with Alex Len at some point, though I know he never played for him.
He was kind of out of the NBA, and then he was signed by the Lakers late in the season, so he does have recordable stats for this year.
He's big and he's tall. That's all Alex Len is.
Yeah.
You get a rebound.
But then just quickly, at the number 21 pick, there was one All-Star that came out of that group. That's Tyrese Maxey. And he's been a solid player.
Yeah, he's been, I think you'd call that an A+ at 21 to get a guy who this last year averaged 26 points a game.
Utah selected in 2018 at number 21, and they selected Grayson Allen, who wasn't a bad pick.
Yeah.
He's turned out to have a decent, kind of a journeyman career in the NBA, but he has a role and he plays it well.
Well, that's like what all of these guys are. Passing over maybe the guys who were drafted in the last 2 drafts, of course, both of them averaged about 9 points a game this last year. But Christian Braun,
he's
Keon
been very
Johnson,
great for Denver.
Yeah, we obviously mentioned Tyrese Maxey, but then like Brandon Clark, Grayson Allen, those are all like, none of them are like fantastic players. Tyrese Maxey obviously is, but like except for him, they're all decent players. Nothing spectacular. You got yourself a rotation player at 21, which at 21 you're just like, please make the rotation. In your
chance of being a starter.
Yeah.
If not a starter, somebody who's going to see the floor pretty regularly.
Yeah, you're generally satisfied because it can be really hit or miss once you get to the back end of the first round. But, of course, if you go back far enough, it's a bunch of guys who are out of the NBA. And, Eric, you failed to mention Jazz legend Gorgie Jang, who wore a Jazz hat on draft day.
Yes.
And that's it.
That's it. That's the only time he got close to the Utah Jazz outside of being on the visiting bench.
Yeah, because then the Jazz traded him, and I forget who the other guy was that they traded. Oh, it was Shabazz Muhammad. They traded him and Gorgie Jang for Trey Burke.
So, yeah, that's just a look at what you could potentially expect for the Utah Jazz. So should they stay at the number 5? Or should they try to move up to number 3? Because history shows us there are good players that come out at number 3.
That's the golden pick. Of course, the scandal of the day, or the last couple of days, Ace Bailey listed at all of 6'10" when he was at Rutgers. NBA Combine measured at 6'7" and 1/2 inch.
Whoa.
In barefoot.
That's a massive difference.
So if he's wearing thick shoes, he might be 6'9".
Stilts.
And still in shorter. Like, that is a catastrophic drop in height.
All right, quick time out here in the Full Court Press. Still have time for you to weigh in if you want to share your thoughts about these draft picks and the history at these different positions in the NBA draft. 435-339-0321.
Rely now on a York Affinity Premium Comfort System to keep your home cool and comfortable. The new Affinity systems are smarter and more connected and more efficient than ever before. And you can cut your energy costs by as much as 50%. Call Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, your local York dealer, to schedule a free system evaluation. Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning showroom is west of DI and online at advancedheating-ac.com.
We're not comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
The Sportsman on Main Street is loaded with great clothing, shoes, and equipment. This is Mark inviting you to come in and check out our awesome store. For 71 years, we have outfitted you, whether you are going on the trail or to the theater. Trust me, you won't see yourself coming and going as we work hard to have some of the most unique clothing and shoes you will see anywhere. If it's a bike, skis, or a unique clothing and shoes, I promise we will take care of you only at the Sportsman on Main Street in historic downtown Logan with tons of free parking in the back.
This is Jordan with Primrose Home Care and Hospice, and I'm here with Barbara. Barbara, how did you become acquainted with Primrose?
I had been trying to get another company to come and help me, and I had waited about 2 weeks, and I needed a bath. My neighbor suggested that she would make a few phone calls, and that very afternoon, Mark Stokes was sitting in my front room, and he said, "What do you need?"
Primrose Home Care and Hospice. We're your home team.
This is Catherine Buse with Cache Valley Bank, and we understand that concerns about fraud can weigh heavily on you. Your peace of mind is important to us. That's why we're committed to looking out for you and your family. Our team keeps a vigilant eye on your account. If you ever have concerns or need support, we're just a call or visit away. Whether you need advice or just someone to talk to, our friendly staff is ready to help. We're more than just a bank. We're your neighbors, and we care about your security. Visit your local branch today. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
A diamond is forever and is perfect to represent your love. For those special occasions, give her a natural, one-of-a-kind diamond as unique as she is. Our exclusive brand, Neat and Brilliant Diamonds, is both beautiful and affordable with quarter-carat diamonds starting at $499. We have hundreds of sparkling diamonds at our integrity price guarantee with financing available. An investment for generations to come, Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7, where Utah gets engaged. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block at the sign of the clock.
Spring. It's time to get those old rusted vehicles moved. Call DD Auto and Salvage and get paid for moving that old rusted out junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it easy and fast, paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204. That's 787-1204 today. See store for details.
It doesn't matter who you root for. The Full Court Press has all the high school sports covered. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. 435-339-0321 if you want to chime in. We're looking at the NBA draft. Utah Jazz, the number 5 and number 21 picks. And going through a bit of the history of players selected at that position and what they're doing in the NBA right now. What kind of players have they turned out to be? Also, speaking of playoffs and success, I don't know. It's a weird transition. We'll move into high school playoffs.
We'll make it work.
Yeah. High school playoffs continue for soccer, boys. That's boys soccer, boys lacrosse, girls lacrosse, softball, baseball, track and field, and tennis. All of them are taking place in some form today, tomorrow, and Saturday. Tennis is, I believe, Friday and Saturday. It's taking place down at Liberty Park. Track and field. Some of it started today, but for these schools up here, they will begin tomorrow. That'll be down at BYU. Friday and Saturday. So best of luck to all of those athletes. State championship already underway for baseball and softball. And Bear River Bears, they've already beaten Desert Hills in game 1, 6-3. Now, game 2 will be tomorrow. And then if a game 3 is necessary, then I guess that'll be a little bit later on in the day tomorrow. But Bear River is on their way to yet another state championship in softball. Such a rich history in softball over there.
Death, taxes, and Bear River softball winning state titles.
Yes. So congratulations to the Bears and best of luck as they try to close things out. Now, with that being said, with softball, Ridgeline softball team was kind of up and down through these playoffs, but they had to face Bear River a number of times in the regular season and even in the playoffs. And Ridgeline tried to play themselves back into the field, but ultimately they lost to Bear River 6-4 yesterday afternoon. Some of those games were delayed or maybe even moved because of weather. But with everything that happened, Ridgeline effectively finishes tied for third for the season in softball. And they did the same thing in baseball. Kind of an up and down season for them. But the way they got into the playoffs, they made a run. They were in the consolation bracket and were able to knock off some other teams, but eventually losing to Snow Canyon. And Snow Canyon and Crimson Cliffs are facing each other for the baseball championship, and that gets started a little bit later on this evening. But Ridgeline baseball team basically finishes the season also tied for third.
Does he get a bronze trophy? I mean, I don't think they technically hand out a trophy for that, but it's a good finish there. It's kind of like, I remember the one year I was in high school, Davis finished second in like half the sports. It was kind of weird. They won the All Sports Award, and they did win boys soccer. So they finally won a championship.
They broke through.
They finally did, but they finished second. Like, so that kind of reminds me of that, where it's like you finished third in like multiple sports. It's like, dang.
A couple other sports that are going on right now are going on today. We've got a game going on right now down in Orem. Ridgeline is taking on Orem for the boys 4A state championship. They're in the quarterfinals. Green Canyon is at Crimson Cliffs. That game a little bit later on this evening. So those are the only teams left out of the region that are still alive in the quarterfinals for boys soccer. And then to lacrosse. Now this is we're only into the second round for lacrosse, so quite a number of teams still alive from this area. And Green Canyon, they're going to be at Payson this afternoon. This is for boys lacrosse. Skyview is hosting Dixie. That game already underway. It's in progress right now in Smithfield. Mountain Crest is at Waterford. That game has also just got started. And then a little bit later on this evening, Bear River hosting Jordan, and we will have that game broadcast on 104.9 The Ranch in Box Elder County, and also video streaming on CashValleyDaily.com.
Yeah, should be a good one.
And then for girls lacrosse, Bear River is so there's a doubleheader going on over in Garland today. That game underway right now, hosting Desert Hills. Skyview is at Timpanogos. Mountain Crest is at Canyon View, and Ridgeline hosting Cedar. All those games were scheduled to get underway at 4 o'clock this afternoon. So that's a quick look at what's going on in high school playoffs as they continue. Some are wrapping up. Some will continue through the weekend, others going into next week, and we will continue to update you on those as they go along and continue to cheer on the teams from Region 11. Quick timeout. We'll be right back with Pick 6 on the Full Court Press.
The chips and drinks are endless. The burrito is huge for only $7.95. It's got to be Cafe Sabor, Cache Valley's best Mexican restaurant and gold medal winner in the Best of Northern Utah contest. Experience Locals Day every Thursday with a huge burrito, endless chips and soda, only $7.95. Finding any lunch under $10 is nearly impossible. Every Thursday, drinks, chips, and a massive burrito. You pay just $7.95. The food, the fun at Cafe Sabor in the historic train station on 6th West and Center in Logan.
Do you have a fireplace or stove that isn't working right? Why wait until next winter to get it fixed? Get ahead of the game and get your fireplace or stove serviced now by Advanced Fireplace and Stove. They service everything from Quadra-Fire pellet stoves to heat and glow fireplaces. Get a 20% discount on your next service and labor when you mention this ad. Call 752-7272 or go to advancedfireplaceandstove.com. Advanced Fireplace and Stove, where comfort is their business.
Express Tire, tires for less. In and out with zero stress. Express Tire, tires for less. In and out with zero stress.
Any brand, any size.
Copiers, printers, service, and supplies are just the beginning. Les Olson IT is the premier source for your business's structured cabling, IT, software, telephones, and security systems. We partner with you to find the ideal solution to all of your office technology needs. Tell us your goals and we'll get you there. Find out more at lesolson.com.
Les Olson IT.
Hi, this is Robbie with LSS Insurance. If you're about to turn 65, the Medicare phone calls, mailers, and emails can be unreal. Out-of-market telemarketers simply do not understand Utah, Idaho, or your individual situation. We have real answers and real solutions with local help. At LSS Insurance, we are your health insurance specialists. Call us 752-9493. Having local help makes all the difference, and there's no cost to you. Call 752-9493 or visit LSSINS.com.
Daryl's Appliance is celebrating 55 years in Cache Valley. This is Jay from Daryl's Appliance. Guess what? It's also May is Maytag month, and we are teaming up to give you the best service to go with the big Maytag price breaks and rebates. Why buy Daryl's? Your neighbors say it's our service. Celebrating all month long at Daryl's Appliance, located west on Airport Road. Hurry in today and experience the Daryl's difference.
Join the show by calling 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
If you need new spark plugs and filters, your locally owned Napa has got them to fit your car or truck. Also, your lawnmower, four-wheeler, motorcycle side-by-side. You can find it at your locally owned Preston and Providence Napa Auto Parts. Okay, Jason, you're back on a little bit of a roll here with Pick 6, where we try to predict what will happen this weekend. Let's get into it and see what will happen this weekend from our picks.
I bet you $20 I can get you gambling before the end of the day. No way.
It's the Full Court Press Pick 6.
Ever since March Madness ended, I am so bored.
6 things we think will happen this weekend.
I don't know how the whole betting thing started, but it's fun.
All right, your choice. Since you won last time.
I'm going to go first again.
Okay.
That's been working well for me the last couple of weeks. So I'm going with the legendary series, Thunder Nuggets. Game 6, how many free throws will Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic combine for? I set the line at over-under 18.5 for their combined free throw attempts.
Attempts?
Yeah.
I'll take the over.
All right. I'm going to take the under. Next, we have Maple Leafs and Panthers, also a Game 6, but in the NHL. Total saves by both teams combined over-under 45.5.
I'm going to take the under.
I'm going to take the over. And then Real Salt Lake, they're going up against Colorado. It's the Rocky Mountain Cup. How many goals does RSL score? They've scored, I think, 1 in their last 2 games, or 0. It's 1 or 0. They had a 0-0 tie last time out. So I just said, all right, 0.5. How many goals in their rivalry game against the Crapids, as some will call them.
I'll take the over.
All right. I'm going to take the under.
I'll be optimistic.
I'll be pessimistic. All right.
Okay, it's rivalry weekend in Major League Baseball. Run differential. Cubs versus White Sox. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Cubs by 8.5.
The White Sox? I'm going to say over.
I'll take the under.
All right.
Home runs by the Yankees in their 3-game series against the Mets. This series will be played at Yankee Stadium.
Okay.
6.5.
I'll say under.
I'll take the over. And then Kimi Antonelli in F1. You got a race in Italy this weekend. So his finish, 6.5. So if you say over, that means he'd be 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. You go under, means he'll be better than 6.5.
Who does he race for again?
I forget who he races for.
That's an
I just know he's
question.
Italian.
I'm going to say over.
Okay, I'll take the under.
I barely recognize his name.
And then tiebreaker?
Tiebreaker. Minnesota Lynx against the Dallas Wings in the WNBA Friday. Lynx by 5.5.
Oh, I have no idea. I'll take the under.
It's a season opener for them. So you said the under?
Yes.
And that gives me over. That's pick 6.
There you go. We'll see how we did on Monday as we recap the weekend. And, recap a lot of things. But have a great night, everybody. We've got a big NBA playoff game tonight. We'll recap it again tomorrow.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. Now that the NFL schedule is out, fans are doing what they do best, counting wins and losses in the month of May. The rosters are mostly set, coaching staffs are in place, and the path to the playoff is printed and laminated. And every fan thinks that they've got it figured out. But here's the one thing. We don't. Projecting records this early, that's a fool's errand. Just look at last season. The Jets were supposed to be Super Bowl contenders. They went 5-12. The Broncos left for dead. They wound up in the playoffs. And the Commanders, they went from grabbing the second quarterback in the draft to the NFC title game. No one saw that coming. Injuries happen, quarterbacks emerge, teams collapse. Surprises are the one thing that you can count on. But remember, what it looks like today might be a cakewalk in October or vice versa. Because in the NFL, the only thing harder than winning is predicting who will win. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.